We had a good time. Lots of questions. The question of the day yesterday out at the garden show was pretty much, I would say, doveweed. I think that was a number one thing I keep getting asked about. And on the show yesterday, too, as well, you probably, some of you are probably going, yeah, I know. Or maybe you don't know what you have, but that's what you have. Well, send me a picture. We'll find out. That's a problem weed. And we have several weeds that are problem weeds. Doveweed basket grass can be very challenging to deal with. Virginia buttonweed, boy, there's another one. Virginia buttonweed is it's just a nuisance and it's hard to get rid of. And, one thing that I will say, a lot of times maybe you think in terms of, I have this weed, how do I kill it with a spray? And I get that. That's legit. I mean, we do spray for weeds. Even if you're an organic gardener, you probably spray vinegar for weeds. And so, yeah, that's a thing. But I want you to back up a step and think about, why is that weed there? And in other words, what is making my spot so acceptable to that weed, so favorable to that weed that it's proliferating? And now that doesn't mean the weed all goes away when we start adjusting that. It just means we're not encouraging the enemy if we're going to look at this from a war standpoint, because sometimes weed wars are a thing we deal with. And Virginia buttonweed and Kailinga and yellow nutsedge and doveweed, and they love wet conditions. And if you're watering too much, which a lot of people do, it's a waste of water, but it's what we do. It's what some people do. You're going to have more problems with, another one, dollarweed, that loves wet conditions. And so if you've got a low spot, maybe it's not you that's watering, it's the rainfall and the fact that the area doesn't drain. Well, low spots in soggy soil, there aren't a lot of plants that like that. Most plants prefer well-drained soil, but these weeds love it. And so just getting the internal drainage of the soil fixed. There's something called a French drain, where the water goes down in the soil, enters a pipe, and drains off to another location. All of those kinds of steps will help a lot in controlling those weeds. It doesn't kill the weeds. It makes them not proliferate as bad. And so you have a chance. Some of these conditions, you're encouraging the weed at the same time you're trying to spray it to death. And that just doesn't make sense. You're fighting against yourself when you do that. So let's start with cultural. That's true of a lot of problems. And even if you're not an organic gardener, it doesn't make sense to do things that cause problems that then you have to deal with, right? So let's say here's an example. Aphids love tender, succulent new growth, and lots of extra fertilizer, nitrogen specifically, on plants that get aphids encourages more problems with aphids. Now, a good amount of fertilizer means a good plant, a good production of flowers or vegetables or whatever you're growing. But when you overdo it, you're not helping your produce your production, but you are helping those particular pests. There's many other examples. How about watering plants? It's better to put water on the ground where it soaks into the soil and the roots take it up than it is to put it on the leaves. So if you've got a rose bush and you've got those solid state or pop-up spray heads to water your rose bed, and 3 times a week they're coming on and they're wetting the foliage, you're going to see a lot of black spot. And you're going to see more in the humidity that creates more powdery mildew as well. And you're promoting those diseases, and then you're wanting to know, well, how do I spray and kill those? What's a good fungicide to kill black spot or to kill powdery mildew? And I'm not saying if you don't do that, you don't have any disease. I'm saying you're making it worse, and then you're having to fight it. So don't fight against yourself. Let's do the cultural things that help a plant to thrive. And that's just a principle. We could go into a lot of other things, including weeds and insects and diseases and whatnot, and just the plant health itself. All right, well, there was your tip of the day, I guess.